I discovered my game of the year in 2025 by complete mistake. I really wanted to play Sonic Racing Crossworlds. This AAA game, arcade racer, that had an interesting concept, and it was linked to one of my favorite characters as a child, Sonic. I wanted to kind of transport myself back to that time, to play an arcade racer with all these cool characters, and this system where you get transported to a different map on the second lap was really interesting to me. But then I saw it in my Steam cart, 69 euros. And I thought, let me look at my wishlist real quick. And then I found 3 games that I had on my wishlist that I could get for around 50 euros. Because those are indie games. And I decided to put them in instead, take Sonic Racing out. And then I found randomly a 4th game that I put in my cart because it looked so interesting. And then I ended up buying those 4 games, totaling around 69 euros. I can show you the receipt here. And I ended up having such a good time, and it kind of made me realize what the problem is with AAA games at the moment. So what I want to do in this video, I want to take you through those 4 games, explain to you what these 4 games are, what's special about them, and then at the end make a whole bigger point about what's happening to AAA games at the moment. So if you'll join me and dive in to the first game.
Make it so hard. What is going on?
I'm not sure.
I think I'd like to go now. Are you coming?
Morning, Diver. We have an urgent case today.
In 2022, I downloaded a version of this game called Mind Diver Student Version. It was a cool game. It had some interesting graphics, an interesting story, and an interesting concept. The concept being that you dive into a woman's mind to find the clues to locate her missing boyfriend. So the whole thing is you dive into the mind, and the mind is kind of conceived of scenes that you swim between. So scenes that she has experienced in her life. And though those scenes all have some missing components that you can find by either listening to audio clips or finding specific objects in those moments. And I was really impressed by it, so I, of course, followed the indie game studio called Indoor Sunglasses, but also wishlisted the full version of the game.
So that we could hopefully locate Sebastian.
And that came out in September 2025. I decided to buy it in November. And it was clear that they had made a lot of changes. They have made a lot of improvements, and the story was fully fledged out now. As you open the game, you just get placed into this sea of the mind, where you have a voice in your ear from the investigation bureau, I guess, would be the best analogy for it. And this voice will keep guiding you a little bit, or at least saying what the objectives are and what this discovery means for the overall mission. Other than this game taking place in this woman's mind, it also takes place in Copenhagen. So there are some places that look familiar. In the student version, they had a version of the central train station in Copenhagen, but that's not in it anymore. So I guess maybe they weren't allowed to use that. That's a whole different thing. But it's really interesting to watch these places and watch how they're used in this game. Because of the smushed, edgy, hexagonal graphics of this game, it kind of gets its own... It kind of looks new, even though it is some places that look inherently Danish still. And it's a really interesting artistic choice, and it gives it its own kind of vibe that you can't get in any other game, I feel.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the protest is important, really important. Yeah, so I had to write something. So.
The story feels real. It's about this exchange student from Eastern Europe coming to Denmark, and she has found a boyfriend here. And the conversations are... It really sounds like that. It sounds like, you know, we have an expression of Danish people speaking English and calling it Danglish. And you really get that vibe with some of it.
Yeah, what?
You can write about, make an article about me.
I couldn't do it justice.
No, but look at my modeling here.
Okay, hold that pose. Hold it. Beautiful.
You got it?
Yeah, beautiful.
But it makes it sound real in a way. And because this Danish guy is trying to communicate with his girlfriend and their only common language is of course English. It kind of makes it sound like these scenes are real. And you have, in these scenes, you have voices in the background, you have party music going in the background, you have... It sounds like you were placed in this conversation.
No. I was supposed to interview her.
Yep, but look, everyone is leaving.
No. Fuck!
Hey,
Fuck, I fucked up.
Cluster 2 summary.
Which had other conversations happening around it, so it's all kind of messy. Which makes it better, makes it more realistic, makes it sound as confusing as your memories are sometimes. So, game mechanics. It's really simple. You swim around between memories, you locate objects, which unlocks scenes, which unlocks different kinds of deductions. So this is a story-based deduction detective game with some unique ways of handling these mysteries. I would recommend this game to anyone who likes detective games and who loves this artistic feel. There's a reason that Lucas Pope, the creator of Return to Oberdin, he actually loves this game. And he's also referenced in the game, Lucas Pope, with a copy of Return of the Oberdin on a shelf in one of the rooms. When things come together and you actually discover a clue that unlocks a whole different area of the memory, it's really it's just satisfying. It feels, the room opens up to you, the music plays. So in conclusion, Mind Diver is a weird trip through pain, suffering, loss, heartbreak. It's a story that wouldn't have been told otherwise. It feels very distinct. It feels very indie. So look at this game, try this game out. I feel like for the price, this is a great story to actually follow. And here's a complete change of pace. One of my favorite company management games that I've played over the many years that I've played has been Game Dev Tycoon. It was a game where you had to be a game developer company. You started from your garage back in the 70s with very limited options as to where you could publish your game. And then it goes all the way up to the 2010s with a whole story and with the company management stuff like sliders and having employees and creating your own console, all that stuff. It's a really fun game, and if you haven't played Game Dev Tycoon, try it out. But they made a new game. Also a company management game, but it's a tavern. So Greenheart Games have created Tavern Keeper. They announced it back in 2020. You probably know what happened in 2020. And then they said that it was going to come out soon. I signed up for the newsletter of Greenheart Games back in February of 2020, 2 weeks before Denmark shut down for COVID. And until 2023, there wasn't a single email sent from Greenheart Games to me. And then they started posting. And they started saying, don't worry, Tavern Keeper is on its way. We've been working hard. It's coming. And then some intermittent emails once in a while. And then finally here in 2025, they came out with Tavern Keeper in early access. It's been a long wait, but they did it. And what they've come up with is this very meme-worthy, silly Tavern Keeper game where you have to keep a tavern in a world of orcs and elves. It's all very silly. Just like Game Dev Tycoon was. Game Dev Tycoon was also a silly game. It had a lot of memes to it, and this also does.
Really? Based on those qualifications? Are they a friend of yours? Never mind, it's time to buy...
This game actually is voice narrated. We have this narrator who sounds like he's narrating a children's story. Not to give anything away, but the stories that you experience are laugh out loud funny sometimes. These are so silly, and I love every part of it.
Question 1. Something simple to start with. A tavern is no place for rogue children. They must be ruthlessly weeded from the premises. How do you tell a dwarf and a child wearing a fake beard apart? Good. As you have shrewdly observed, most children do not have beards and so are not well versed in their care.
And on top of that, it's an involved business management sim. You have to make these employee schedules as to when they are gonna work and when they're gonna have breaks. You have to make recipes with all the different ingredients that you have. You have to... It's kind of wild how they mix the very memey stuff with the very involved business side. So I'm really impressed by the balance that they've created here. This is basically a fun version of Stardew, where instead of dying, your grandpa says, we should buy a bar. This is basically what it is. And there's as much depth to it, I feel like, as there is in Stardew. I haven't played that many hours yet, but I can already feel that many hours are gonna go into this game. It might even take up more than Game Dev Tycoon, which I have over 50 hours in. So we'll see how far I go, but I'm loving this already. Even with Tavern Keeper being in the earliest stages of early access, I feel like it is in a better place than most early access games I've ever seen. So give this game a try. If you are a gamer that likes sliders, if you like silly humor, if you like business management as a game, try Tavern Keeper out, you won't be disappointed. And back to the very dark. So we are going to what was my game of the year in 2025. And yes, I have tried Expedition 33. At this moment, we are in a time where detective series, whodunits, and all this is very popular. Granted, I'm talking mostly about TV shows and movies like Knives Out, Thursday Murder Club, Department Q. Yes, I needed my notes for this one because I haven't read those books. I've seen Knives Out and I love it. You get the picture. In gaming, it still exists as I talked about Mind Diver just a second ago. But my game of the year in 2025 was the Seance at the Blake Manor. The Seance of Blake Manor is a perfect distillation of what indie games get right. It's niche. It's a passion project. It's obvious.
My past with her father.
You have distinct visuals, you have a niche story, you have Irish accents all over the place.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Declan Ward. I telegrammed ahead.
You have all these different things that make it unique. Every character in this game has voice acting, but it's not every line that's voice acted. It's the impactful ones, it's the important ones. And I feel like that's fair. You can't just voice act everything, because then it would be too much in this game.
Hard to say, Mr. Sham. Some of the wood up there needs replacing, so all they had to do was hit the wrong part.
All the significant answers are voice acted. Admissions of guilt, their introductions, deepening of their own lore. All those are voice acted.
Bad enough, Omen.
Right. Some decorum, please.
But we play the role of the detective Declan Ward, who was hired by the Blake estate to figure out where a missing person went. Evelyn Dean. We're invited 3 days before Samhain, which is a kind of an Irish version of Halloween. On Samhain, they will do the Great Seance, which is they will connect this world with the other plane, because at Samhain that's the day where the veil between the worlds are the thinnest. This is obviously dark magic at play. And we're worried that Evelyn Dean might be sacrificed in this process, in this seance. So we have to stop the seance, or at least stop as many people as possible from attending. So in terms of the mechanics, it's very well thought out. It's a good mix of point and click, real detective work, deductions and puzzles, and you have to cling on to singular words sometimes to get the real answer that you're looking for. The impressive part of the game is the hypothesis link tree, I guess you could call it. So you can unlock words which can be used to make a full hypothesis of what's going on with this person. And every character has its own hypothesis. And as you go through, you actually, when you get a full hypothesis, then you can confront them with it, and that can lead to them revealing something about themselves, or maybe even not attending the seance. So it's a cool way to make every single character matter in this game, and I love that for it.
Oh, well. Hello there. I don't believe... Hold on. Isn't that... Yes, that's Evelyn. Miss Dean's room.
And then there's the time limit. Every action you do in this game takes off a minute. Doesn't sound like much, but you also have to sleep sometimes. You also have to... Some actions take 45 minutes. And every hour, the characters move to a new location. Or they can do. So you can never really count on where they are, or if they're even available, because maybe they're in their room instead of in one of the rooms of the manor. And with the time limit thing, there were multiple hypotheses that I didn't get to when I played it. So it was I kind of missed out on some of the revelations. I did end up finding out who the real baddie is. I won't say any more than that, but there's still some lingering questions for me, which is really interesting because I played this through and it took like 16 hours. And then I haven't replayed this game, but when you look at the library has books on Irish folklore, on psychology, on the Blake residence, on books on everything, on geography. You can dive so deep into different types of information that I don't know when to stop. The art is one of the true gems of this, though. It kind of looks like blueprints, but if it was made with sunglasses on. Like, it's very edgy, dark, and the characters, the shadow work on them makes them look... A lot of the characters look evil. It's not just the evil guy, it's a lot of them. They are ominous, they're all kind of mysterious, and that's how a whodunit should be. It's not a lot of nice guys. And then the art of the otherworldly is probably where this sticks out as well, because some of the mythical creatures, without saying too much, are really well depicted, and it's scary. And I didn't expect that I don't know why I didn't expect that. I kind of expected, oh, I'm gonna interview all these persons. They've made some really, really interesting otherworldly characters. So give this game a shot. It's a true 10 out of 10 for me. It really is. I enjoyed my time, and I had to finish it in a few days because I was so engulfed by it. The fourth and final game is an escape simulator. More specifically, Escape Simulator 2. And what I loved about this is that it was kind of more of the same as Escape Simulator 1, which was brilliant, but it's a lot darker. Again, it had this kind of ominous feel to a lot of the levels. I've only played the official levels of Escape Simulator 2 so far, but the good thing about Escape Simulator is that they have a community of people who will definitely use all the assets in there to create new levels. So this is a game that's gonna keep on giving down the line, which also happened with the first one. Almost all of the assets in this are darker. They are... Yeah, these are gonna be some scary escape rooms. Probably around Halloween this year, it's gonna get some crazy levels, and I love that. So buckle up for a Halloween session of Escape Simulator in very scary rooms. Escape Simulator 2 really excels in the satisfaction of finishing puzzles, because one, you get the sound that makes your brain go yee. Other than that, the difficulty is attainable but very challenging still. I played this with my good friend, and some of the puzzles we had to run around for 10 minutes to figure out what we were missing. Every puzzle also feels fresh, and that's really difficult when you create this many levels. None of it seemed like they were rehashing anything. Really, a lot of work has gone into it, and the developer really needs some praise for that. Some of you might ask, why not just create a DLC to the first one with a lot of dark assets and new official new official maps and stuff. Honestly, the vibe is just completely different in this sequel than it was in the first one. So it wouldn't really match. I think actually creating the sequel instead was the better move, because they feel kind of far removed. So I'm really glad they did it this way. Specifically, Dracula's castle and the level in space don't match at all the vibe of the first game. The Escape Simulator series, to me, has the same quality of the We Were Here games, but instead of having a through-line story, we instead get a level editor. I haven't dove into that because it's rare that I actually do level editing, modding, all this stuff. I'm not creative in that way. But I would love to hear from you guys about how you are enjoying the level editor of Escape Simulator 2, because I feel like you've gotten a lot of tools to make some cool maps. Escape Simulator 2 is really good value for money, but especially if it's on sale, because it's gonna keep on giving with the community-made maps. And they are really good at engaging the community and actually making these maps, so look out for those. All of these games that I bought instead of Sonic Racing Crossworlds all have something in common. None of these games would have been made by a AAA studio. They made a lot of artistic choices that you can't really get in a AAA studio, because the stakeholders and the shareholders of these companies would say, wait, this is too involved, this is too weird. Why do everyone speak Irish? We don't understand the Irish dialect. Just as an example. It's like the Netflix show Bodkin. You have this setting in the Irish countryside where there's a lot of Irish accents, there's a lot of... It's kind of the same as the Seance of Blake Manor. But to make it digestible to the American audience, we have an American protagonist who kind of has to, oh, you sound weird, I don't get you. You have to kind of, it's like he's translating it for the American audience, and it kind of gets tedious. I mean, I kind of enjoyed the show, but if it was a fully Irish show, I felt like that could have been better. Really. When you make art, but you make it for the audience and not what's best for the piece, this is kind of where it falls apart. To me, that's what many AAA games end up doing. We see these choices that are made for a shareholder, that is made for focus groups, and none of these games would have gone through. Mind Diver is a weird story where the gameplay is not really especially engaging, and you are not held in hand, so you have to actually, like, the clue doesn't blink and shine, so you make sure that that's the clue. That doesn't happen. It's not easy playing these games. But it gives us a challenge, and when that challenge is completed, we're satisfied. I don't need a tutorial for everything. I don't need I don't need a perfect American accent in every game. And if Escape Simulator 2 wouldn't have happened, because they had such a player base on the first one, it would probably have made more business sense to make a DLC for that, because now they have to market a whole new Escape Simulator, but without much technological improvement, but mostly, oh, this is a different vibe, so we'll make a new game. I think other game studios would have probably made a DLC. The bigger studios. because then they could market it to those that already have and already play Escape Simulator. And making a silly, light-hearted tavern keeper instead of just making Game Dev Tycoon 2? Again, sometimes these big studios will just try and rehash their success, chase the success they've already had, instead of going for new, interesting decisions. And this is one of the reasons that I actually make videos on indie games, because it feels different. These games are what indie studios do best. They make the game that they feel is missing from the market, that they would like to play. They tell the story they want to tell. They make the game that they feel like is not out there yet. They are gamers. And sometimes it feels like when you have CEOs, shareholders, who are not gamers, but they have found out what people want in games. Just look at all the live service games that are failing left and right. That's because, oh, we saw that live service games was having success, so let's make our own live service game, and then we'll have success, because that's what the people want. No, people want a good game, which can be live service, but if we already have a good live service game, you have to make an even better one. Or you could just make a game that hasn't been out there yet. Swing for the fences. And these indie game companies are making games that are not out there. They are making games that are so distinctly different. And that's why they succeed. Let me end this by making a simile. You have a beautiful gem. It starts out as a rugged, raw gem. But you can see how beautiful it is. You can see how pretty it is. You decide to cut it a little bit, just to you know, take the worst things off, and then you show it to your colleague. You show it to your colleague and you say, hey, isn't this beautiful? God, this is the best gem that I've ever found. Your colleague says, oh my God, yes, that's beautiful. Maybe if we just cut a bit of the edge here, maybe then it's even better. Then he cuts a little bit off. And yes, you agree. It ends up being a little bit better. And then your colleague says, maybe, you know what? We should show this to the team lead. The team lead is gonna love this. So you two agree. You walk down to the team lead's office. You show him this gem. Oh my God, isn't this the prettiest gem you've ever seen? The team leader says, ah, yes, I love it. You know what? If we just cut a little bit here, and then maybe we should get it to the quality assurance team, just to make sure, you know, we just want to make sure that we make a gem that people will like. So let's get it over there, make sure everything is in order. I think we should cut this first, but then send it to the quality assurance team. So we send it to QA. And QA, they decide, oh my God, this is really good. But we've had some focus tests on what kind of gems people want. And they really want something that's even. They want something that looks like this. So maybe we could form this gem into what people want. And you see what I mean? And when you get through 10 iterations of this, which you often do, a game has to go through so many hands at a AAA company, some of which are not even connected. And when it goes through all these iterations, you end up making something that already exists. But everyone in those 10 iterations want to have input. Because if they just say, yes, this is good, why are they there? So they have to make some changes to make it seem like they're worth their wage. And that's a lot of what AAA can get wrong. I know some AAA studios are really good. AAA studios can do stuff that is better than anything else. They really can. But there is a disease in AAA. It's undeniable at this point. We just saw with the Game of the Year that half of the games in Game of the Year were indies. Indies are getting better, sure, they are. But there's also a lot of AAA slop coming out. AAA are in a spot where they have too many cooks in the kitchen. The value proposition is all wrong. I'm not saying that AAAs should lower their price to indie levels because then they can't make money. I'm just saying that it's a tough sell to gamers to have AAA games cost 4 times as much but be less innovative, but be less interesting, but be less different. All be the same. That's my point. I got 4 brilliant, relatively new indie games for the price of 1 AAA. For 69 euros. I got 4 indies. One of which was, for me, the Game of the Year. It both shows that we are in the golden age of indie games. And that AAA is in trouble. Which we've seen with a lot of different games. I can't come up with all the examples now, but we can see it. These problems AAA have to kind of dive into, either by doubling down on creating the shiniest, non-edgy, shareholder-focused game and hoping it sells, or by actually changing the way they make games and the way they make decisions in games. Maybe reducing the number of decision makers in the process or the impact that shareholders have. Or maybe, just maybe, focusing on creating a fun game instead of creating games for the shareholders and stakeholders, which in turn forces the gamers to find their games elsewhere, little by little. We've seen how it's changed. Silksong, Slay the Spire, Expedition 33. We've seen it. And by the way, I did end up buying Sonic Racing Crossworlds, but at the winter sale where it was 30% off, which was wild, not even 3 months after its release. Thank you for watching, subscribe, see you next time.